What's going on, everybody? This is Alex once again with another installment of my DC animated movie universe review, and we are on to Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. And I need to start this off by saying one thing. You know what I don't like about superhero movies? It's origin stories. Obviously, sometimes you have to show those off. You know, Marvel has built a billion-dollar industry on showing off the origins of some of the most popular characters of the current, nerd culture. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man. Prior to 2008, when these movies started coming out, it's probably easy to say that not a lot of people actually knew where the heck Tony Stark came from. Where did Thor come from? Where did Captain America come from? These characters' backstories were not as well known as, let's say, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. You get that. You know where these people came from. They've been around for so long. Everybody knows where they came from. And that's what I don't like to see in superhero movies. We saw so many iterations of the Peter Parker origin story between the original Sam Raimi trilogy, the horrendous Amazing Spider-Man movies. It's just not necessary. And thank God we didn't have to deal with any of that in Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. This came back out in 2010, and again was directed by Lauren Montgomery, who has done the previous films that I've reviewed so far. And like I said, there's no time wasting with origin stories. It literally drops you right into the heart of the conflict and just goes, and it is a damn good ride. Just flat out good ride. Before we jump into the plot, let's check out who's in this movie. Unlike a lot of previous DC animated features where there's a lot of really strong voice talent, at least from my perspective, and I'm not saying that none of these actors are not strong here. They might just not be as well known. They're more regulated to the small screen, TV roles here and there. But we have William Baldwin, an actual Baldwin brother, playing Bruce Wayne. Batman. Mark Harmon is Clark Kent. Chris North is Lex Luthor, does a great job at that. Gina Torres as Superwoman. Brian Bloom as Ultraman, Jonathan Adams as John Johns, the Martian Manhunter, Josh Keaton as Wally West, the Flash, and Aquaman, even though he's uncredited in that role, Vanessa Marshall as Wonder Woman, Bruce Davidson as Slade Wilson, a.k.a. Mr. President in this movie, and a host of other minor characters. The one that I do want to draw attention to really quickly, though, is James Woods as Owlman. Like, just saying that is crazy enough. And we'll get into, who Owlman is in this movie. But he does an amazing job. I'm going to go ahead and say that if we ever get to do this story in a live-action version somehow, if they get to pull an Owlman in any way, can we please get James Woods to do the live-action role? I don't care if he doesn't get to fight anything. That's fine, Maybe we do like an old Bruce Wayne versus old James Wood as Owlman. I don't care what it takes, but my God, this would be so cool to watch. Anyway, let's dig into Crisis on Two Earths, which is a bit of an adaptation of two stories. A 1964 Gardner Fox script, Justice League of America comic series Crisis on Earth 3, and Grant Morrison's 2000 Justice League of America JLA Earth 2 story. I'm not going to get into what a crisis actually means within the DC universe. Let's just say that a lot of bad things happen to a lot of different planes of reality, hence why we have two Earths here. That's far too complicated to explain on why there exist multiples of them. I'm not going to dig into any of that right here. I'd only want to take this about 20 minutes. That would take hours to explain. So, like I said, we are dropped right into the heart of the action. We are introduced to Lex Luthor and this world's Joker, the Jester. And they are breaking into some sort of compound in which they find a device called the Quantum Trigger. They are escaping, and they are very well aware of the fact that they are being hunted down by somebody. They are on their way. They manage to make their escape. Jester stays behind to let Lex Luthor escape, and he encounters Jed Jarkus and Angelique, who are Earth 2's version of Martian Manhunter and Hawk Girl, in which he blows them all up in this moments at his last moment of heroism. Lex Luthor is cornered in a nearby alleyway by Ultraman, Superwoman, powering Johnny Quick and Owlman, who are all evil analogs of Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, and Batman. These guys were developed back in the 60s, so their names are a little bit goofy. I mean, powering? Anyway, Lex Luthor escapes, and he zaps to what we know as the current Earth that we're so used to seeing these adventures take place on. He gets in touch with the Justice League and basically says, I need help. I am from Earth 2. Superman actually x-rays him and sees that his vital organs have been flip-flopped, essentially, to kind of give him an idea that he's actually telling the truth, and that he needs help to stop the crime syndicate of America, is what this evil version of the Justice League is known as. He convinces him to go back to his Earth. Batman stays behind to do some research. They're currently in the process of building the Watchtower, which is the space station that the Justice League operates from. On Lex Luthor, good Lex Luthor's Earth, they basically break up into multiple teams to take down the heads of the crime syndicate. And they capture all of them, and they take them to the president, who in this universe is Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke. I would love to see the campaign he ran there. Wow, what an election season that must have been. And basically, President Wilson says, I can't, I can't convict them. Nobody's gonna, stand against the crime syndicate. They are basically holding the world at ransom and basically saying, we won't hurt you guys because we know that the government will not, retaliate, because it would basically lead to a nuclear Armageddon. So it's very much just a standstill, but the crime syndicate is exercising their power to basically do whatever they want because they know they won't be retaliated against as long as they don't go too far. But it's revealed that Owlman has been secretly working in the background to basically tip the scales in their favor and actually go a lot further. It's revealed that he has developed a weapon, a quantum eigenstate device, aka a QED, and for all of you fun Latin lovers out there, that actually stands for Quod erat demonstradum, I think I pronounced that right. Basically, what had to be done is what was done, and that actually plays into Owlman's overall plan here. Basically, this is a bomb that could destroy the planet in its entirety, completely wipe it off from the place of existence, destroy it outright. And he admits that while it can destroy one planet, he has sort of begun to understand that there are multiple Earths. Just as he has seen Lex Luthor bridge a dimensional gap, he thinks that he can use this to leverage his power across all of existence, and that's where this movie kind of gets like a much bigger scope. Basically, his nihilistic tendencies is nothing that I do or you do, or anybody does matters, because on another Earth the opposite decision was made. And he uses lots of examples. There was never a fish that crawled out of the primordial ooze to evolve into man. Parents never met in a different universe, so Owlman was never born. So he's basically saying that no choice matters, and he basically wants to destroy everything by making the only choice that matters, finding what is dubbed Earth Prime, the original Earth, taking the bomb there and destroying that, thus creating a chain reaction, wiping out all of existence. He wants to finish off everything because in his mind, that is the only choice that truly matters. And that's a pretty groundbreaking idea right there. Is most villains just want to enslave the world or rule the galaxy or whatever. No. Owlman wants to destroy everything. Nothing matters to him, and that's pretty bleak, actually. So he realizes that Lex Luthor took the quantum trigger, which will allow him to find Earth Prime, to the Justice League's Earth. He sends Superwoman to go track it down, and she encounters Batman, and they fight, and he manages to hold her off for a little bit, and they end up back on the crime syndicate's Earth, in which the Justice League finally confronts the crime syndicate, and they fight, and they basically end up at a stalemate when Owlman finds Earth Prime and is like, all right, I'm out of here, guys. I'm gonna go destroy reality. Batman manages to track him down, and they end up fighting on this barren Earth. It doesn't really tell you what exactly happened here, but something happened on this Earth that just kind of led to the splitting of multiple or infinite realities. They have a fight. Batman manages to, in one of probably my favorite fight scenes ever, because the two are so clearly matched, as are the rest of the characters and their doppelgangers are. They end up fighting on this planet, and Batman manages to, tie Owlman to the bomb and zap him off the planet before it explodes onto some other, forsaken plane where there is no life, and it blows up there and it destroys a planet. Batman and blows up a planet because that's what Batman does sometimes. They pop back to reality, or the crime syndicate Earth, and at that point, President Slade Wilson arrives with the Marines, and they take the crime syndicate into custody, basically taking back their planet. At that point, they zap back to their Earth, and it all wraps up with Superman telling Batman, I really wish, that we had more manpower. And Batman's like, oh yeah, I thought of that already. And he reveals Aquaman, Black Lightning, Red Tornado, Black Canary, and I forget. Firestorm, that had helped him fend off against Superwoman when they attacked the Watchtower trying to find the Quantum Trigger. So it's a pretty basic superhero movie. There's a world-ending plot device, MacGuffin, that they have to keep out of hands of the bad guys and make sure they save the day. And that's all fine and dandy. It's a simple story. It's a big story, and it's great to get to see all of these characters just bounce off each other and just interact. And that's what my favorite part of this movie is. It's a little bit cram-packed full of characters, which doesn't leave a lot of room for character development, which is probably my only negative about this film, is that there are so many characters to keep track of, and it's very easy to, because you're not having to deal with the alter egos. You never see any of the characters outside of the costume, so it's just the superheroes and the supervillains interacting. But like I said, it doesn't leave a lot of room for actual development. They start out as the heroes they are, and they finish as the heroes they are. There's no, big revelation about anything, which a lot of major movie production studios think there needs to be in all of their superhero movies, which I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it is what it is. So the things that I do like, and it is a list. First off, the introduction theme is so cool. It's so bombastic and has this great, just heavy riff to it. And I'm not even going to try to replicate it because I wouldn't do it justice. Haha, Justice League. But they use it again in Justice League Doom, which is the direct sequel to this movie. But it's a great, powerful intro, and it just really sets the tone for just how big and epic this movie is going to be. Like I said, all of the voice actors here are doing a great job. Again, I think back to my review of Justice League, The New Frontier, in which I talked about how good the Batman voice there was, and that it was kind of alien in the sense that you never saw him outside of the cowl, and you get a little bit more of that here, but there is some humanity now to Batman. You can tell that he's kind of grown up. There are actually some throwbacks to that movie, New Frontier, so there's a little bit of tie in there. So it's kind of a cool timeline that's being established here. There's so many just fun little lines, when the Justice League finds Lex Luthor in the police station, he's butt naked as to show that he's not armed, and the Flash goes in and is like, whoa, and they call me the Flash. It's just stuff like that, just absolutely fantastic. Nolan North as the Green Lantern has a lot of snarky lines to him. Everybody just sounds like they should be. I wasn't a big fan of Mark Harmon's voice as Superman. He sounded like he was congested or something, but it's what it is. The art design is fantastic here. Obviously the costumes come across very, very well, but the one thing that I like that is an improvement over previous Justice League properties, primarily the cartoon series from the 2000s, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, I always thought that a lot of the characters were very blocky and a little, very, broad-shouldered, big-chested, and just kind of tapered down into this tiny little waist. And these characters feel a little bit more sleek, a little bit more slim, and I like that a lot. The fight scenes are really, really great. There's a great scene early on in the film where there's this massive air battle in which Superwoman, the evil Wonder Woman, has brought in. it's the evil analog of Shazam, and there's three of them, and I think it's Captain Super is the name of the character here. But anyway, they're fighting, and it kind of shows off that this is where Wonder Woman got the invisible jet, because Owlman's jet can turn invisible, and she takes it and keeps it as a spoils of war, as she calls it, and just getting to see these them fights in midair, and it's just a great, very well choreographed fight scene. All of the fight scenes are really well choreographed. When you get to see Wonder Woman and Superwoman fight against each other, whoo, and the lasso comes out, and Wonder Woman manages to hog tie her and like elbow. She's like, submit. Whoo. And that's all I'm gonna say there. It's really cool to see, obviously how the crime syndicate actually functions, because as they are, five members of what effectively is an evil Justice League, they operate with what they consider territories, and each of the founding members has made men underneath them, which are, minor supervillains and other minor, characters that have been given extra powers. And so it's cool to see even though they are on the same side in a sense, they are very much against each other, because they're all vying for territory, Ultraman, being the boss of bosses, kind of runs the whole show, but you can tell that he has a hard time keeping control of the rest of this super powered group that he leads, and that's really cool to see there. And those made men is what really kind of adds all the little extra elements to this film that really make it for me. We get to see Lobo, the Black Canary, the Black Adam, the Shazam triplets here, the evil version, the Red Archer, who was the mirror image of the Green Arrow. Firestorm, Black Lightning. We get to see a bunch of just minor characters in the DC universe, but they all show up in one capacity or another. So it's cool just to see that they're beyond the scope of the core members of the League and the Syndicate, that there are more characters out there that are involved in this universe, and that's really cool to see. That was one of my favorite elements of Justice League Unlimited, getting to see all of these B, C, and D list heroes getting some limelight cast on them, which is really, really cool, and I like that about this film a lot. And just all the little elements of this film like that just really, really tied together well for me. If you're not a comic book fan, you will have no idea who the crime syndicate actually is. You will have no idea why Lex Luthor, when he's fighting Ultraman, he breaks out blue kryptonite to weaken him before they take him in. And you will have no idea what that actually means, because yes, there are multiple versions of kryptonite. Go figure. So just little fun, elements like that give, just that extra sort of nod to the comic book fans of the world who enjoy these properties so much. It's just, it's like a love letter almost, in that you just get to see all of the craziness that is the DC comic universe brought to life. And it's cool to have those little nods here and there that really, say basically thank you for reading these stories for so long. Here's a blue kryptonite. This is here is Lobo showing up randomly in this as well. So it's just good fun, and that's what I liked so much about this. There's no origin story pretentiousness. There's no moral quandaries to be really examined here, except for Owlman, who just, in the scenes where he is on this barren wasteland with Batman, and he's basically saying, this is the only choice that matters. I am a powerless person, except in this moment I can make the only choice that will ever matter. And there's this great exchange where they're going back and forth, and Owlman just kept saying, we're so much alike. I can see in your tactics, in your costume, that everything about you is just outrage and a cry for revenge. But I am the antithesis to the way that you have done everything in your life up until this point. And on other Earths, there will be versions of me that you might find quite charming, which James Wood, in all sincerity, probably is a very charming individual. And the way he just comes across, and there's something about the design of Owlman, and I'm going to go into a little bit of detail here. in the way that there's zero emotion on his face whatsoever. The mask that he wears does not allow for any expression through the eyes or anything like that. Unlike Batman, who will have the white pupils of his mask kind of, open and shut, depending on his expressions. But Owlman is just such this cold, emotionless villain here, and it works so well. And probably my favorite line in the entire movie is just before Owlman is zapped off to this desolate non-Earth prime Earth. Batman basically says, we are extremely alike. You and I are the same person, but when we both looked into that abyss and it stared back into us, and that forged us into what we are now, you blinked. And God, it's such an impactful line to deliver to show that that Batman, when life came back at him and stuck its face in his, he's like, nope, I'm holding my ground. You move. Oh, it's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. Like I said, there's no pretentiousness in it. There's no stupid origin stories. It's just a good, fun, action-filled DC movie, and I cannot recommend it enough. As always, I don't give these things grades, but if you're going to watch one of these, I highly recommend Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. It does have a direct sequel, which we'll get to here in a couple of weeks, Justice League Doom, which is in many ways just as good as this. Even though we've seen these sort of, crossover, dimensional ending stories, like we got to see the Better World episodes in Justice League Unlimited, where the Justice Lords fight against the Justice League. We've seen these kind of stories before, but it's done so well, and I absolutely love it. So I wholly recommend that you guys go and check out Crisis on Two Earths. Lots of fun shout-outs to comic book fans of the world, and maybe if you're not, you're going to enjoy it for just being a fun, action-filled movie. Now, things are going to get dark next week because we are going under the Red Hood. Thanks for watching, guys.